Hey guys, I'm Jacinta Robinson and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview athletes who've achieved incredible things. Today's guest is an incredible endurance runner. He set a challenge to run 196 marathons in 196 different countries to raise awareness for prostate cancer. I recently joined him at the end of his marathon in Australia. He is an inspiring athlete who is leaving a legacy that if you dream something, go out there and get it. I'd like to welcome Nick Butter. Welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Thank you.
It's your first time in Brisbane, hey?
Yeah, first time here. It's been pretty good so far, although the run, I don't usually run in the evening, and obviously I'm going to run after we've done this, so I'll see what it's going to be like.
Oh my gosh, it's a steaming hot day, so it's probably better at...
Steaming hot.
It is hot!
Not compared to Africa. No, I'm actually really enjoying these temperatures, and so much so that I've been putting more clothes on at night because I'm getting cold.
Yeah, you are. You're feeling it now.
Yeah. 27 degrees is too cold for me.
Oh my God. So let's tell the listeners, you're doing 196 marathons in 196 different countries. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the idea. So the concept of the whole trip is to set the world record for running a marathon in every country in the world. So every official registered country. So 196 is the magic number.
And you're doing it solo?
Yeah.
Did you plan like each country prior to this or?
Yeah, so the whole trip has taken about 2 years to plan before I even got to the start line. So it was a really, really long slog to, like anything, it takes a long time to plan, but visas, safety, security, funding, all of that sort of stuff took a long time. And so we had, I reckon it was about 9 or 10 months of flights booked before I left.
Wow.
And then you have to keep booking them. And it's a 23-month trip. So it's been interesting to make sure that I've been on track. And my dad, bless him, I've got a really good team behind me. And that team started off quite big. Yeah. And then it got smaller and smaller because it got so expensive the longer the trip went on. But my dad's been in charge of booking the flights from the very beginning. And we were going to go to an agency or, as you would if you're booking a holiday or anything else. Yeah. And it was just far too expensive. And we saved like £20,000.
Wow.
Just by doing it ourselves.
Yourself.
And it still costs a fortune. So yeah, all of them were done in advance, more or less.
Yeah. So tell us the most beautiful place that you've been to.
Oh, there's too many.
How many places have you been so far?
So Australia is number 175. Yeah. So I have 21 countries left. We're so close to the end. So I started off in Toronto, Canada. So January the 6th of 2018, minus 25 degrees C. Super, super cold. Yeah. And I worked my way all the way down through North America, the Caribbean, Central America, and then into South America. That was up until March, so 3 months to do that, which was a really quick stint. And then straight over to Africa. And then I basically leapfrogged from Africa to Europe to make sure I was getting visas and passports and all the paperwork I needed to do that. And then that was I think it was about 11 months to do Europe and Africa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 54 countries in Africa and 44 in Europe.
Wow. Yeah. And so what's the most beautiful place?
It's really tough. So I've had some amazing experiences for people or the memories, but beautiful wise, I think South America as a continent is just absolutely stunning. And then Sierra Leone, one of the places that a lot of tourists don't tend to go to, was stunning. The people there, the scenery, the beaches, probably one of the best beaches I've ever been on is this tiny little cove in Sierra Leone. Yeah, wow. But then I ran past this beautiful erupting volcano in Guatemala.
Get out.
In Antigua, and I had some brilliant people with me.
Could you see lava?
Not lava, but it was big smoke. It was huge. And it actually erupted 3 weeks later and destroyed a big part of the village. Many people got evacuated, but they didn't get hurt. But it was... there's so many beautiful places, whether it's beaches, whether it's mountains. I spent 6 days in Nepal, up at 4,500 meters and seen some amazing mountains. But there isn't any... You can't... when you see that many, you can't pick one.
Yeah, right.
No way.
Yeah. So because you're going to so many different places, you'd be going through different climates. How did you prep your body for that? Because you're going extreme cold to hot and... Yeah.
So a few people ask me about do you plan to do decent? So you're not going through the Middle East in summer and that kind of thing. So it's not too bad. And actually because of the timing and because I was doing, so it works out about 3 or 4 marathons a week.
Yeah.
And that's 3 or 4 countries a week. So you're running, flying, running, flying, running, flying. And every now and then I get either a break of 7 days or 10 days somewhere.
Do you sleep?
No, never. No. I sleep a lot on planes.
Yeah.
And in airports and pretty much any other time I'm not running.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. It's so yeah, the journey through from all. There's just so much to say. The journey from South America over to Africa was a big difference. The temperatures up in Bolivia, where it was like 14,000 feet.
Yeah.
And I arrived on the Sunday, and then 6 hours later on Monday morning, I ran without any acclimation at all, like pounding headache, loads and loads of steps, had dogs chasing me, and it was like 44 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
And then I got over to Africa, and it was even worse.
Yeah.
And then recently in Kuwait, it was 60 degrees in the sun.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous. But you just get used to it.
Are you running clothes though? Like, so you don't get burnt or?
No, just a vest. I mean, some places you kind of have to cover up a little bit more, but not really because of the heat. No.
Yeah.
In was it Kuwait? Yeah, in Kuwait I had a Harley Davidson like gang escort.
That's cool.
It was amazing. 9 bikes. One of the guys worked at the British Embassy who put me up, and they came out and joined me for the last half. So that was pretty cool. And their bikes, it was quite funny because the joke was I was running for however like 4 or 5 hours in this crazy heat.
Yeah.
And their bikes couldn't do it because I was going too slowly for them. That their bikes overheated and they had to stop. So yeah.
And then what about the cold? Because the cold's different to the heat.
Yeah.
Do you find that more challenging because you're breathing in colder air, or?
I don't like the cold. I don't like being cold. I'm such a scrawny person that I get cold really easily.
Yeah.
Minus 25 degrees was my very first run in Toronto.
Yeah.
And that was a shock. Like I had to borrow hand warmers, gloves, hat. Because I went knowing it was going to be cold.
Yeah.
But it was particularly cold, like 20 degrees colder than I expected.
Yeah.
I don't like running in the cold. Places like Ukraine, Russia, anywhere where it's snowy and slushy underfoot, so you end up getting really wet, and it means that you can't necessarily stop and have water breaks and enjoy it because your body cools down and then you start to like shiver. But that's just me being pathetic. Like it's not that bad. Like it's fine. Running in minus 25 is just fun. You just have to make sure you don't slip over on the ice.
I don't reckon I'd like the cold. I like the heat too.
Yeah.
I think you can always like cool down. You can get some cold water on you.
Yeah.
But when it's freezing, I struggle to get warm.
Yeah, it's just the enjoyment factor, because I think I speak to a lot of people about it, is that I've done so much running. I want to run and enjoy it. If I'm not running, then what am I doing? Like I'm not trying to like kill myself on every run.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy the run. And if it's cold, I don't often enjoy it.
Yeah. So in saying that, would you say that with the marathon, you're not going as fast as possible? You're just taking it at a pace that you can take in the scenery and enjoy it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I can run fast if I want, but only really do that in races or when I've got a break coming up, or when I'm somewhere that I can either get water really quickly, or if somebody's organised. So occasionally I've had, quite often, like maybe 10 or 15% of the time, I've had people organise the events for me.
Yeah.
And there'll be water stations so we can kind of whip round a bit quickly if they're loops. But no, I don't care about running quickly. Like, I think there's a whole process. A lot of people start running to get fit, and then once they've got fit, they kind of want to improve. And obviously I went through that stage, and then I started competing, and then after competing, I wanted just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so there was a few occasions where I've had all sorts of meals during the run. I ran along the beach in Dubai with a really lovely group of people, some expats over there. And we ran past the burger place. Yeah. And you get the little buzzers when you order your food.
Yeah.
So we went and ordered a burger, and we ran with the buzzer until it buzzed, and then ran back and picked up the burger, and then ran with the burger. So it was like, it's just social. There's so many people to talk to, and I want this whole experience to be memorable for everything. And I don't want to go, oh no, I can't stop and eat, I can't stop and chat, I can't stop and take a photo, because he wants to do that. So I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. I love running like at a pace that you can talk to people. And I find, like you said, when I've trained clients as well, they go too hard, too quick, and then they hate it. And then
exactly. It's not fun at the end after that.
No, and you can really enjoy it if you take it a little bit slower.
Yeah, every now and then I kind of feel like I'm being too lazy with it, which is ridiculous if you're running like 4 marathons a week.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just put in a fast 10K, or I'll do a quick half marathon this time, and then do a slower second half or something. But most of the time it's dependent on who I'm running with.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get a group of people and they'll go, oh yeah, we're going to run 42K with you, and they manage like 5K, and then they just can't do it. Or there'll be people that want to race the whole thing, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to race that. I'm just going to relax and do what I want. And I've had that a few times where people are expecting me to be super quick, and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to go and do like a 2:40 marathon. I'm like, no, I'm going to do like 4 or 5 hours and take my time and have an ice cream.
Yeah, and like you said, you can enjoy it that way. So talking about like ice cream, hey, tell me about your nutrition, because you've been to so many different countries which has different varieties of food. How do you know what to eat and how it's going to fuel your body for like the marathon?
Yeah, so I've had some like nutritionists in the past, like a performance manager and all sorts of stuff that have managed like my nutrition, and I believe I'm pretty knowledgeable about what I should and shouldn't be eating. Yeah, but what I actually do is just eat anything whenever I want, pretty much. So I go through these cycles of like dieting well and trying to like make sure my body's kind of resetting a lot. I take lots of supplements. So I take about 11 supplements a day, which is just kind of like probiotics and stuff to keep my gut healthy, and some natural fruit and veg supplements, and what are the other ones, like cod liver oil and some basic stuff just to keep my body ticking over. And I think had Africa not been in the picture, because it's so difficult to get the right food, I would have probably gone about the whole mission quite differently and tried to be really strict with my diet and used it as a kind of a test almost. But I love rubbish food, and so I'd rather just go and eat whatever I want. And I've just finished writing something for the book actually about how nutrition and focusing on your nutrition and your stretching and your exercise and your massage and all the kind of ice baths and all that kind of stuff. All of that is great and it helps you. But if you're used to it, like people say, oh, you must have to eat so much food. I'm like, no, I eat about 2,000 calories a day because my body's just used to it. And sometimes it's a burger, sometimes it's, I don't know, avocado on toast. But I honestly don't have any nutritional like input in my days. Every now and then I'll go through those periods where I'm like, I've definitely had too many fried breakfasts. I should probably not eat these anymore. But
do you feel like, like sometimes when you've been out in the sun, it feels like the electrolytes have gone. Are you taking a supplement for that?
Yeah, electrolytes. Yes, that's another thing I take. I take a couple of electrolytes and salt tablets before every run. Like regardless of the temperature, just chuck some down and add some salt. Don't tend to add too much salt to my meals, really. And run slow enough that I always run slow enough that my legs don't hurt at the end. So I can't really remember a time where my legs hurt properly at the end of a run because I just do it at my own pace. So do you think stretching is a big... I think you know the answer. Again, I had a performance manager in the past who was brilliant, but she was wanting me to do stretches at certain times and get up and walk on planes at certain times and all this sort of stuff. And I think it's really valuable. And if I was training people that I have in the past with running, stretching is important, and knowing like what your muscles are doing and making sure you don't get those, especially like your IT band stuff and your Achilles. But I've had so much stuff and the injuries and so much advice, but I had some really good advice from a lady called Elizabeth Barnes, who's famous for running the Marathon des Sables race. Who's
that's
British.
The one in the desert, right?
That's the one in the desert, exactly. And she said I think it was one of the either press conference or something that we went to before the race, and she said like, just after you finish running, just don't do anything. And I was like, that's actually a really good point. Like, my body's tired, I'm going to rest. And so I think the point that she was making is rest and then do stretching, but I took it to mean just don't do anything. And so I have had, over the last 2 years, I've probably had about 4 massages, and I've probably stretched about twice.
Oh, wow.
Because I just don't.
And you don't feel tight, or?
Occasionally, if like in Bolivia, running steps constantly, or running, sometimes it's 4,000 or 5,000 meters of ascent in a marathon, which is huge if you've got to do another one a few days later. But I've done over 550, 580 marathons. And my body's used to it. Like, it sounds silly to say, but it is used to it.
Yeah. And do you think maybe too, because you're not going a high, like it's not getting a heavy weight or doing a HIIT session, it's that's why.
Exactly. You're completely right. If I was training well, and I think one day in my life I will put some effort into running a decent marathon time. My PB is 2:54 and 2:53, 57, and that's not really that quick considering people know me as a marathoner. But my distance and my running is all about ultra distance and going longer, and like the longer it is, the better I do because the slower I go. But you're right. If I was training really hard for a 5 or 10K or even a marathon to try and beat my PBs all the time, I would get injuries all the time if I didn't stretch. I am aware that I do need to stretch if I do that, but because I'm not putting so much load through my muscles or my joints, then I'm just ticking over.
It's probably like walking, really.
Yeah.
It's just,
Exactly that. It's just like slightly quicker walking.
Yeah.
That's maybe what I should have called the trip. Slightly quicker walking.
I don't know about that. So do you believe then, because you're not so worried about your nutrition, do you believe that because you've got the supplements, that's sort of balances it out for you? Or do you think that it's nutrition, it's just about having decent food but being relaxed about it?
I think nutrition is super important for everybody, regardless of if you're like a super Olympic athlete or whether you're just starting out running. Like, don't get me wrong, I just don't don't take my own advice, basically. It's definitely I've had so many people, I'm constantly Googling things about nutrition and knowing whether or not like I should be having a certain food enough, and I think it's because I just kind of regulate things automatically. I go, I've had probably too much of that food now, so I'll have like this particular cereal for a while and then change it up a bit. I think the main thing about nutrition and generally staying healthy is just to educate yourself as much as you can, so you know when you're doing things wrong. It's, people go, I've had 6 eggs every day for the last like 5 years. Okay, well, what about your cholesterol? Like, it might be great protein, but think about your cholesterol. So there's other things that are going on where people may not necessarily realize. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I know enough to get myself through a run and feel okay. And I know that if I'm going to constantly just shovel sugar down my face, then I'm going to get diabetes. You know, regardless of how much you run. Your sugar is important in your body, and
you can't outrun or do any exercise or outdo your diet, really.
No, not at all. There's no way of escaping it. And I know I had a bit of a time, especially in Africa, where I couldn't get pretty much any of the nutritional stuff I needed. And I was feeling like sugar depleted far more than usual. And so I would have a can of Coke or a can of Fanta or something. And I knew you can't do that all the time. But it was what I had at the time.
That was
so
your
you
resources.
just go with it. And then when I have some like my team send me like packages of nutritional stuff or some bits and pieces. I don't do gels or anything like that. Just some half decent food will do the job.
Well, I think because you're not going crazy and you haven't this ego about you to do the best every single time. I think because you are relaxed, you don't need like all this extra stuff, and that's cool. That's really cool.
I'm actually doing something which I haven't announced yet. So this is the first. I'm actually doing something in October next year in Australia, completely coincidentally, in Sydney, where I'm doing this kind of experiment with myself, which is, we're calling it Fit in 50. Okay. So I have a friend of mine who I actually met in Kabul when I was in Afghanistan, a brilliant guy called Glenn, and he is training me for 50 days, and I'm not going to do anything other than gym and transform my body from a scrawny runner into get as strong as I possibly can over 50 days.
Wow.
Like 6-7 hours of decent quality exercise and proper nutrition. So we have all sorts of nutritional plans that we're talking about at the moment. And over those 50 days, I'll probably do some running. Because it's part of exercise, right? But I probably won't do as much as I usually do. And
probably
then
gain some big size.
Exactly. I'll gain size, I'll gain weight, I'll gain some muscle. And then the idea is to cut the gym for 50 days and see what happens week on week after that to my body, and how
no
quickly.
Exercise?
No, I'll run. I'll go back to my normal running lifestyle, but I won't gym, and to see how quickly my body reacts to that. So I'm interested in it because it will be interesting to see actually how fit I am, because I don't really think I'm that fit in terms of, well, definitely not in terms of strength, but nutritionally I'm probably not that healthy either. And so
we have to follow nutrition as well.
100%. So we've got proper nutritional plans. We're actually put most of that in place already. And it will be like a 2.5 hour break, 2.5 hour break, 2.5 hour break, and then like a mile swim in the morning, and it's going to be really intense.
Cool. Are you going to document this so the listeners
we're producing a little mini documentary from it.
Oh, fantastic.
Some really great people I know that are basically putting together a documentary. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be hard, and it's going to be difficult not running.
Yeah.
I think I said to them I want to do at least 26 miles a week.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like a quarter of what I'm doing now. So
yeah. I feel like running gives you like a high. It's like a meditation.
It does.
I just love the feeling.
Well, I think I've been a bit skeptical of, I don't know whether I think it's a fad or not, but things like yoga and meditation and all sorts of stuff. And recently I've got a little bit more into it. And so what I want to do in those 50 days is go, I'm going to do the meditating, I'm going to do the yoga, I'm going to do the healthy eating and nutrition and go to the gym, run a normal amount and see what happens.
Yeah, right.
Because I could be a complete convert,
Yeah.
I'll never run again. I doubt it.
Maybe.
I'm going to run again.
I was like, there's nothing like running.
But no, exactly, you're right. The running high is very, very unique. I don't think, I've done all sorts of other sports, skiing when I was a lot much younger, and it's not the same as running. It's something just primal and simple about it, isn't it?
So you've always been a runner, or?
Not really. So I did my first marathon when I was 11, so super young.
Not really, 11.
No, but then I had a big chunk of time.
Oh, okay.
So I did from that, I haven't run constantly after I was 11. That was like an upsetting time because it was hard and horrible and I didn't like running then. And then I had a long break until I think probably about 18 or 19 when I started to pick up running again. I did a bit of cycling, and I was in the Snow Sports England ski team. So I did some proper skiing, and I was obsessed with it. Yeah. And it was my sport, So people call me a runner. In my mind, I'm still a skier from years ago. And so, I'm looking forward to not running, like I said, in those 50 days. But no, I've not always been a runner. I've run, I guess, properly for about eight years or so. I think that's probably about right.
Yeah. And tell us about the crazy marathons you've done, because that one that you're telling me about in the desert, have you done that?
The marathons, yeah.
That is intense.
That's crazy. I had a particularly extra tough time.
Yeah.
Because I went into that race hoping to finish in the top 20, which would have been a great result.
This is the race, the ultra race in Dubai.
No, in the Sahara Desert.
In the Sahara Desert. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so in the middle of the Sahara, about 6 hours into this 9 million square mile wilderness of just nothing but sand and rock. About 1,000 people do it every year, and we're on nearly the 40th year or maybe more.
Yeah.
And actually this whole trip came about because I was running this race in the desert.
Yeah.
7 days, and it was 281 kilometers when I did it. And it's seen as this toughest race in the world, which there's definitely tougher races out there, but this is particularly difficult because of, I guess, the heat and the sand, and you have to carry all your food and that sort of stuff. But and I did this race, and I had some brilliant people in my tent. There's lots of tents. We were a tent of 8 people, and one of the people in the tent was a guy called Kevin. He was 49 years old at the time. And he was a lovely man, like super smiley, super bubbly, and almost annoyingly happy. And I thought, okay, I'll chat to this guy and understand what's going on. And then he just dropped this bombshell on me that he has terminal prostate cancer. Oh. And I thought, exactly. And I was like, okay, so this kind of makes a little bit more sense now, why you're going out and doing all these things.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got to me a little bit. I was already doing a lot of running all over the world and having a great time. But he just said a few words to me, which was, don't wait for a diagnosis. And those words like rattle around in my brain every day, which is just this motivation of don't wait for something to go wrong in your life before you go and absolutely do what you really dreamed of.
Yeah.
And I thought I was already doing that. I thought I was racing all over the world and having a great time, but I ultimately wasn't doing absolutely what I really wanted to do. And that's obviously to run all over the world, which I'm literally nearly done now. And so after meeting Kev, spoke to him a little bit more and started to do some research about prostate cancer because I hadn't come across it before. And I thought, I'm going to do something to raise some money for him. What can it be? I had no idea what I would do. But I wanted it to be something that nobody's ever done, and the option of getting a world record, not because I'm necessarily after hunting for world records, but more to kind of add the press there so I can raise some more money for the charity. And obviously getting a world record is cool as well. So
I was going to say, that's cool.
That definitely helps. And so I picked something that was big enough. big enough to get some attention, and did some research. And
I guess that would keep you going too when there's so much happening.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It pushes you to...
Exactly. There's so many times where I've been running in torrential rain. Like I had a really horrible run in Pakistan, and I had this run was like so wet. Like my feet were just ruined from like mile 3. I could feel these, like my feet just disintegrating. It was probably about like 3 or 4 inches of water, and I was running down the middle of a dual carriageway because it was the driest point that I could find in the middle of Islamabad. What was I saying? Yeah, it was really wet and horrible. And the thoughts of Kev coming into my mind, and he was given 2 years to live. And when you're told that, like so many people in my life that I've cared about or that I've never known very well, but then they've just either dropped dead or they've like their child's died or their parents have died too early. And you think, you know what? Yeah, life is too bloody short. I need to go and do something that I really want to do. And that's why when I go and speak at schools and speak at companies, I genuinely believe in just do whatever you possibly can to make your dreams come true. Yeah. And so did I have £500,000 to do this trip? No. Did I have really the understanding of if it was possible or if I was going to be safe? Not really. But like within a couple of weeks of putting some thought into this trip, I was like, I'm going to go and do this for Kev, try and raise some money. And we've raised quite a decent amount of money so far. And
how much have you raised?
21 countries to go. So I wanted to raise £250,000. Yeah. And we're just over 50,000 now, which I was hoping to be more like the 100 or 150 by now. Yeah. But realizing the scale of it mounting up towards the end of the trip, I'm hoping in the coming weeks, like within the next 10 weeks or so, we'll get a bit of an increase. Yeah. But the beauty of it is I can still continue to raise money after the trip as well with speaking and bits and pieces. So, we're raising money and also awareness. I know it wasn't your question, but I'll tell you anyway because it's kind of interesting. Yeah. I've mentioned prostate cancer and Kevin and basically trying to get men that are over a certain age to go and get checked and to talk about it a bit more, because men are just embarrassed and ashamed of talking about the prostate, and it's ridiculous. Like, why? Well, exactly, because they don't want to talk about like you have to go and get checked and somebody has to put like a finger up your bum, and they don't want to talk about it. Exactly. And so men don't talk about it to other men because it's too embarrassing, and therefore men die. This is literally as simple as that. Like if you don't get checked, then people die. And so I've been talking to all these people all over the world about what I'm doing, especially taxi drivers, because they're like, oh, how long are you here for? Like the journey from the airport to the accommodation, wherever I'm staying in every country. Yeah. Those taxi drivers, more often than not, are men, and more often than not are over 40, because that's like the threshold of going to get yourself checked. And I've taken a few numbers and emails every now and then of these taxi drivers. And over the course of these last, 21 months, I've had roughly about nine taxi drivers come back to me and say, I've gone and got myself checked, and 3 of them had prostate cancer. Oh my God. So, and that's just the awareness thing. Like it's just talking about it just to one person, and that person will tell somebody else. So, the good thing about talking about it too is then they feel comfortable to open up and then go do it. It's not like it's a bad thing to do. The stupid thing is if you are embarrassed to talk about it and then you go and get yourself checked and you have prostate cancer, you're instantly not embarrassed to talk about it because it could save somebody else's life. It's just getting there. It's trying to get rid of that embarrassment before you've actually got it. Yeah. That gave me goosebumps. That's crazy. It's and just think of like there's 11,000 men die every year in the UK from prostate cancer. More people die from prostate cancer than breast cancer now. So. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it has like 20% of the funding. So anyway. And that might be because breast cancer has been such a big thing for a long time. Now it's time to... There's been the media campaign about breast cancer and lots of research and lots of charities springing up to do, and as they should. Yeah. But now I feel like let's give some attention to prostate cancer for a while until we get some more funding. Yeah. Because really, if everybody got themselves checked early enough, nearly everybody would live. Yeah. If you catch it early, you're fine. Yeah. Okay, you may have an operation and things will change in your body, but you're not going to die from it. So how do you fund going to all these different countries? How did that come about? Like obviously you had a plan, you have a team. Funding it, yeah. How'd you do it? This is probably the hardest and most stressful thing of the whole trip. Yeah. Because investing your own money and your own time and ultimately potentially spending money you don't have. Yeah. And so when I budgeted for this trip at the beginning, my background was in banking and finance before I was a runner. And so I thought I knew what I was doing. I did not know what I was doing. I was really, really, really wrong with the estimate. So I budgeted about £100,000.
Yeah.
And I thought with the money I had, it'd be fine. I could cover it with some sponsorship maybe. And I had a couple of, like, Red Bull got involved. I had Do Running got involved with some sponsorship. Lloyd's Bank got involved with some sponsorship. And I raised a decent amount of money and we got off the ground. But now, 21 months later, I can tell you that I've personally, like, the funding of the trip is 95, if not 99% of it's come from my pocket.
Wow.
Or my parents or friends of the family. And so it's close to Australian dollars terms, it's about $1 million.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And a lot of that is money that I either have to pay back or that has come from friends of the family, or there's some lovely people. I met this brilliant woman in Barcelona, and she, I won't name her because maybe she doesn't want me to name her, but she's a lovely, lovely lady.
Yeah.
And she just heard me on the radio one day, living in Spain, but heard me on the radio in the UK before I'd left. And said, come along to, when you're in Spain, come and stay with me. And I stayed with her, had a brilliant time. And then she donated a decent chunk of money to help me fund the trip, because she saw the benefit in funding the trip and donating to the charity. And so it's always really controversial, because I don't want to, I don't want people just to give me money to fund the trip, because I want to raise the money for the charity.
Yeah.
But had I not done it, then I wouldn't be able to inspire kids. I wouldn't be able to have the awareness with the taxi drivers. I wouldn't be able to raise any money at all for the charity. So
absolutely.
And also, it's kind of Kev's message to me about this living your life how you want to do it is the concept of, I want to go and have fun. I want to go and do something that is like, I'm going to look back on when I'm old and grey, hopefully, if I get there, with my kids and my grandkids and go, this is what I did when I was in my late 20s. And so it's about doing something that will raise some money for charity, give some awareness, and ultimately I'm living the life I want to live. So investing all of the money I have is a good way of doing that, I think. I'm completely all in.
And well, you never know, like, this may just explode for you from there, because you're being so giving, and with your time and your money as well. But
that's the thing. It's, everyone says to me, well, what if something goes wrong, and what if you don't get the record, or what if you, like, for example, the Australians and the Brit in Iran recently, that got detained and all sorts of stuff, and I think, okay, if that happens, but actually I'm investing in something that I really care about, and if nobody buys my book, nobody wants to hear my story, nobody wants to interview me on a podcast, nobody cares about what I've done, I've still traveled to every country in the world and had a great time and raised some money for charity. So like, there isn't, in my opinion, much better way to spend my own money. So
that's a good way to look at it.
I've got to thank my parents as well, though, because if they're listening to this, they have done such a great, constantly put up with me going and calling. And we've had about 60 to 70 cancelled flights, and my dad has to manage the logistics of that and also put their own money into funding it. So,
so how do people fund you, like sponsor you? How does it work?
So sponsoring me is like actually fund the trip. That's stopped. So that stopped like pretty soon after I left, because I wanted the focus to be on the charity. So the easiest way for people to sponsor and to give money directly to Prostate Cancer UK is to search my name. So if you just search Nick Butter Just Giving, then the page will come up with my Just Giving page, and you can click and donate and add the gift aid, and the money will go straight through to the charity. So I'm well and truly, like, I've spent all my money, and I've pretty much just about got enough. I'm literally selling another car at home now. Everything has been gone. And so I really want to hit this target for prostate cancer now. So it's
what a feeling though.
Yeah, I know, and that's the best way to do it. And I think when I stand up and speak to kids in schools, it's trying to get them to go, you know what, I want to do that, and if it costs me everything I have, then I'm going to do it. It's that, like, and I think I feel sorry for the kids that don't necessarily have a direction or a passion for something yet. And I think, when you have it, you've got to really kick yourself because you wish you had it earlier, you know?
So. And I think when you're young, it's hard to know, because there's so much in your mind and you see so much around you that telling you what you should be doing rather than what you feel inside that burn for. So it's kind of hard to know. It's
really hard to know. And I, the big thing for me is, especially with schools, regardless of the age, is just telling them to not fear failure is a big thing for me, because I think I was a really shy kid, and like not doing something because I was afraid to be like, afraid to fail. And we all know of sports people that failing is the ultimate way to learn, and trying to instill that in people. And I'm not standing up there and telling kids to run. It's not even about that really. Running just happens to be my thing. Yeah. But it's about getting them to go and do whatever they want to do and give it everything they've got. And if they fall over a million times, then keep getting back up. So,
have you had a fear about this, like completing everything, like all the runs or it's like funny. Whether you get an injury, like? Yeah,
it's funny you say that, because at the beginning of the trip, if you said that to me, like, are you worried that it won't work? My response is, yeah, it will work regardless of what happens. It will work. Yeah. And I still feel that it will work. But I've learned so much more. I know how much it costs. And I also know that I've got 21 countries left, and 10 or 11 of them are places like Libya, Syria, Yemen, Iran, Sudan. They're places that I will have problems, and I'm constantly, this is why I'm tired, it's not the running, I'm constantly on the phone to my team back home, and have my brilliant assistant vet on who's constantly hounding me for, have you made sure you've sent that email to the embassy? Or I had to send an email recently to... I can't remember which embassy it was now. I think it was Sudan. One of them, Libya, maybe Libya. Because they were saying, we've got this tourist application for Nick Butter. Why does he want to come to Libya? And rightly so. Like, why would people want to go and, if it's not a place to go and visit? And so I had to write an email saying, like, this is why I'm going. This is my website. This is who I am. Yeah. And you have to make sure you're then not breaking rules, because I'm not doing it for a business and all this sort of stuff. And so I worry about that, because if a country closes its doors to me, then I either have to go and do something illegal and get in there without them agreeing.
Would you do that?
That's a really good question. I think if a country wrongly denied me access, if I'd done something wrong and they said I couldn't go, then fine. Yeah. But if they were for a technicality, for a box on a form or something, then there's ways to get in. Yeah. So the honest answer is probably. Yeah. But I hope it doesn't come to that, because I'd be terrified. Yeah. Just because you wouldn't want to end up doing all of it. And there's another reason. I had a few questions in an interview a few months ago about, well, why have you left all these difficult ones to last? And I'm like, well, if I get shot at or killed, I'd rather have seen the world first than actually to get to country number 3. Yeah. And also, it's been a really hard, tough battle. I've had about... all things considered, I've had 9 passports in 21 months, which is just ridiculous. Like 49-page passports, just full of stamps, visas, all sorts of documentation.
Will you be running through any like war zones?
Yeah, so I ran in Mogadishu, Somalia.
You've already done it.
Done Mogadishu, done Iraq, done Afghanistan.
Were you shitting yourself? Like, were you worried about getting shot?
Actually, Somalia was one of the places I really wanted to go back to. And it was pretty much because I was mollycoddled, and there was this brilliant place called the Chelsea Village. And if anyone wants to go and visit Somalia, maybe you do, I don't know. If you want to go and visit Somalia, then there's a place that the UN go to, and some various other aid workers. It's called the Chelsea Village. And it's as Chelsea Village as it sounds. It's a really lovely kind of... cargo container rooms with a beautiful restaurant, and they just did everything for me. They put me up for free, and I left. I had 48 hours there, as I do most places. I ran with about 15 military people, and lovely people. I've made friends and contacts for life there. And I left feeling like I didn't want to leave. Aww. And then some places I've gone to, like Equatorial Guinea, which I was physically throwing up because of the smell of the streets.
Oh, nasty.
And it's something like that you just think, oh, I'll be fine. And I've had people like not shooting. What's it when you throw things at people?
Oh, like knives and stuff?
No, just stones. Like people throwing stones.
Oh, stoning you?
Yeah, throwing stones. Like, there's some of the Pacific Islands where they really don't like foreigners. Because it's like, I don't know, 2,000 people.
Did you run really fast then?
Yeah. But there's all sorts of things that I'm not scared about, touch wood, I'm not scared about getting kidnapped or getting arrested, because I feel like if that's happened, then at least either somebody will know about it, or I'm not, like, it's not a trip ending thing if that happens, because nobody's ever done this. I can continue if I want to, like 2 months later, because there's no time set. Yeah. But if a dog, which has happened many, many times, gets so close to my heels and they just happen to snip my Achilles with their teeth if they bite me, then my legs are screwed. Yeah. So I can't carry on for months and months and months. Yeah. And I may never run the same ever again, really. Yeah. And so dogs.
Have you had any like
I've
injury?
had a dog bite,
Yeah.
So I got attacked by 5 rather horrible dogs in Tunisia, which was really scary. Honestly, I was scared
How'd
of
you get
dogs
them
quite a
off?
lot after that. I was on a beach. I was
Yeah.
actually running with a good friend of mine, Andy, who's actually done 14 of the runs with me.
Yeah.
So he came out just every now and then to some countries, and he came to Tunisia, and we were on mile 22 or 23.
Yeah.
So just a few miles from the end of the run, and running along a beach, and these dogs just saw us and instantly came over the sandbank and just ran towards us.
Oh my God.
And it was horrible. I mean, I've had dogs, big dogs, tiny dogs, all sorts of dogs chase me, but very few of them just go straight for you. And this dog just flew straight at me, jumped up, bit just on the back of my leg. Yeah.
Oh my God, your hammy.
Yeah, I know. And it was like bleeding, and I was like, "Oh, what's happened?"
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you think, "Oh, has something terrible happened?" But I don't really know about it. But it was fine. It was only a tiny graze, just a few like little bite marks. And I was fine. But it meant that I missed 2 countries because I had to go back to the UK to go and get more rabies shots. Because the countries I was about to go to didn't have the rabies shots available, and so that was like £2,000 of flights down the drain. I missed 2 countries, and it was putting everything in jeopardy for the finish line, which is in November. And because I want to finish in Athens on November the 10th, the official race, the famous Marathon to Athens race.
Yeah.
It's got a date that I can't ask them to move their official race, and so like if anything goes wrong between now and the end of the trip, I will not make that final race.
Well, it probably won't.
Well,
Sweet.
I hope it won't. I'll still race there. It just might not be my last country. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh, that'll be really cool to get into that race and finish like that.
No, it's so good. I've just had the schedule through from Veton, my assistant, who manages my life for me.
Yeah.
And I said to him, it'd be really nice to get some people out, and I've got countless amounts of people that have followed the trip that have contacted me and said, we've got our flights booked, we'll see you there. And so we're getting a group together for a dinner beforehand, the night before, and then a dinner afterwards to celebrate the finish.
Lovely.
So, fingers crossed it will be the official finish, and I won't have to go and do another country because I missed something. But
So have you lost any like equipment? Because you'd have to be quite limited on what you bring with you.
That's a really good question. So I started the trip with typical backpack style, one backpack full of everything, just put it in the hold and take my laptop on the plane, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And now I travel with about 60 kilos. And that's not exaggerating. So I've got this huge camera bag with all of my camera, because we're creating this documentary, and so I have to film stuff like drone shots and trying to get my own original content that's interesting, and so I have to have my camera gear with me, and that's like 12 kilos on its own.
Yeah.
And then I have, if I'm away like I have been now for months and months at a time, like socks, underwear, running stuff, casual stuff, and like washing powder, and like things we were talking about nutrition, like every now and then I'll have like a bag of granola or something, and so I just have a massive suitcase. It's ridiculous to travel all over the place on most of the time.
Do you get like shoes and that sent to you?
Yeah. So I've got to deal with DHL, and they send me stuff. So most of the time it's nutrition, like my supplements, which I get questioned about quite a lot at airports. And then trainers. So ProDirect and Adidas supply all of my trainers. So I've got through about, I think it's 12 or 13 pairs of Adidas so far.
So Nick, tell us your advice for the listeners that are wanting to get out and start making a change to their life and want to get a little bit fit.
So I guess there's 2 things. If you want to make a change to your life that doesn't necessarily involve being fit, then it's about realizing that you do have the time to do so. And I think anybody that's been in the same world as us with running and sport and stuff realizes that if you really want to do something, you can make time for it. I've talked at a few things where parents or adults will come to me at the end and say, and I can't do that because I've got I have an hour commute every day. I'm like, okay, well, share the commute or cycle. So you're not actually having to waste that time in the car, or I've got my kids to look after. I'm like, okay, so just adapt something so your kids are either involved in what you want to do. In terms of, so that's kind of if you just want to do something and make a change generally, but in terms of getting fit and getting active, I think it's about wanting to do it for the right reasons. And so many times I speak to people and they're really, really enthusiastic, but I can tell by the way that they're talking and what they're saying, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it because somebody else is that they know is getting fitter than them, or because they've got a wedding to go to and they want to lose some weight or something like that. Actually, it's, if you want to completely change and get fit properly, as you know, you've got to change your lifestyle. You've got to really think about it and put some proper thought in, rather than just go, okay, I'm going to get a gym membership. How many people have gone, okay, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to go and buy 40 quid's worth of gym membership every month. You know, it's I think if you understand and commit properly, there's that whole saying of, if you're chopping down a tree, then spend 80% of the time sharpening the axe. It's because, like, if you do the prep in advance to write some stuff down. For me anyway, when I was training for ultras and I was running, so I used to run from a Saturday midday to a Sunday midday, so 24 hours, and that was every other weekend. I know, it's a long time. And I hated those days when they came around on my calendar, and I just drew a hand calendar and had it on my wall, and it was like, these are my miles I have to do on these days. And regardless of rain or shine or funerals, weddings, whatever, I would do those miles. And I missed birthdays, I missed some things, but you just stick to it. And then there's the other angle where I've gone through times when I'm like, okay, I'm going to set myself a weekly goal and give myself a percentage of flex, you know, so if I want to be under 20%, then it's acceptable. And just, I think it's about really committing properly. If you want to change something, think about what you're doing it for, how you're going to do it, and make a realistic plan. Don't just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to run a marathon in 3 months and not really know how you're going to get there. You know, so.
Do your research. And have a good why.
Exactly. Have a good why, do your research, and speak to people and surround yourself with people that are going to do the same thing. So if you're going to train for a marathon for the first time, join a running club. Pretty simple. But.
Do you think that you would have done this run if you hadn't met Kevin?
No.
That's incredible.
I really don't think I would have. I would have done something, and I would have definitely, I was going down that more and more path. I was competing and racing and loving it, and I was definitely going down that path. But no, I don't think I would have done this. I just didn't have that kick. I didn't have that switch that said life is so much more precious than I think it is. I was already like preaching about making the most of things, but until that conversation with Kev, it didn't really fully click. So I guess it's having more conversations like that with people. And I think the another thing is, you can listen to advice on whether it's podcasts or YouTube or TV, but it's understanding where that person's life has come from, and there's so much more to it. And Kev just happened to kind of ring all the right alarm bells, and that was it. And it was an accumulation. You know, it was from teachers like my very first teacher, my headmaster in my middle school, before I ran my first marathon when I was younger. He said that in his report was because he used to teach PE as well, physical education. He said, "You're not a natural runner. Like, Nick is not a natural runner." And I actually think I'm quite a natural runner now. But it's probably right. And so I think it's probably a bit of like being told you can't do something, and kind of bits and pieces clumped together, and then Kev was just the icing on the cake that tipped me over the edge. So,
Well, that's really cool to have him as that, like, the final piece. For
and
you.
I hope that I will accidentally be that tipping point for some kids, and I want them, you know, he was saying to me, I just wish I'd understood this concept of living rather than just existing, like years and years ago. He was 49 when he had this horrible news, and yet it gave him the most profound and most positive outcome. And so I wish I could give these kids that I'm speaking to, you know, I've got this schools tour next year and trying to get to 100 schools, and I want at least 100 kids, hopefully one kid a school, to be able to go away and go, that's what this whole life thing is about. And it'd be really great if they could understand that when they're that young, but I don't know.
You might be just there, part of their
accumulation. Exactly, just a bit of the accumulation. And if that's it, then brilliant.
You know, that's cool to have an impact on somebody's life like that.
I hope I do.
So you're writing a book. Is that about the run?
Yeah. So there's 2 books I'm going to release. So I've got a really lovely...
When will you release them?
In end of March next year.
Okay.
So the main book is a written book about the trip. So it's a little bit of me talking about the very brief story of Kev getting into it, which is a very small part of it. And then, you know, I've got 196 countries to talk about in not very many words, and so I won't be talking about, I'll mention every country,
Yeah.
But the idea is sharing the key stories and also my learnings and my feelings of these different places. And it won't just be running. It will be more a combination of travel, culture, religion, race, politics, economy, all the stuff
Just
that I've
your
understood,
life.
just my life over these last 23 months.
Yeah.
And how I've experienced stuff. And there'll be some little takeaways from like tips from aeroplane stuff. It'll just be my internal monologue on paper, I think, for the last couple of years. So that's the main book. Penguin is publishing that in beginning of April, so end of March. And the other book, which I'm producing myself, is a photo book. So I'm looking forward to putting this together because I love my photos.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly competent or knowledgeable photographer, but I like making my photos.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have this big 400-page, really big coffee table hardback, super big book of just all the great shots. And there's a little collection within it called 1000 Faces, and it's 1000 people that I've spoken about and spoken to over the trip,
Wonderful.
and their face and a little bit about them. And
Oh, that's cool.
next March, I'm looking forward to, when I finish the trip, having 2 or 3 months just to chill and get on with that.
Yeah. So the listeners will be able to follow you on social media, and you'll have everything on there, won't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the easiest way is or if you want to say hello or get involved or get a school involved or run with me or ask me things or whatever, the easiest way is just to contact me on Instagram. My Instagram name is Nick Butter Run. So just Nick Butter Run, all one word. Or email me, nick@nickbutter.co.uk. And say hi and see what we can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for the rest of your marathon, so I can't wait to see how you go. I'm
going to get out now and run for the next 4 or 5 hours. Might have an ice cream too.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your support, guys. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave me a 5-star written review. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe so you can keep up to date with these incredible stories. If you're not on YouTube, jump on over so you can see this week's episode of the Fearless Challenge. So Nick, what is your Fearless Challenge for me?
Okay, I reckon the best thing to do is when you finish work, give me a call, and I should be at the end of my run. Yep. So come and join me for as much as you can handle, and I'll pick up the pace a bit. Okay, cool. Sounds
good. So we're just meeting Nick on the bridge. He's just running across here. So we should see him soon. Here he is. Woo! Yeah. Nice.
Ready? Yes! Woo! We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Marathon number?
Marathon number 175. Australia. Brisbane. Next stop, Papua New Guinea tomorrow. Run the day after. And the day after that is, what did I say? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
There's so many.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, cool. What do you think of Brisbane?
Love it.
Yeah,
it's really good. I was expecting more beach, coastal, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And so running along a river and seeing, it's like a proper working city.
Yeah.
With such a good network of running and everything. I can't really fault it. I really like the atmosphere. What was the bridge called? The purple bridge?
Story Bridge.
Story Bridge, yeah. That under that and all the shops and the beautiful apartments, loved it.
Yeah. Cool. Let's have a look at your time, hey? Check this out, guys.
I can't turn the light on because I don't know how, which is crazy considering I've had it for years. This one will light up.
There we go.
4 hours 37,
That's right.
27 miles. See, a little bit more than I needed.